So, welcome to the overview of the spiritual awakenings with the Akashic Records, Oracles, and EFT certification course. It's part of our spiritual guide program. And I'm Phillip Mountrose with my wonderful wife and partner, Jane Mountrose, here at Awakenings Institute. We're spiritual guides, coaches, and healers. And this new course is part of our recent teachings, our discoveries. We've been following our soul and guidance for 3 decades, and the results have been pretty amazing uh, and uh, and inspirational. And we share them in courses like this in our publications. And it's very important for us to join together because, as you know, the world is rapidly changing and it's calling for people to come out and be beacons of light. And how do you do that? Well,
Right.
you have the resources and tools and support through like a training like this of how to be your best self, how to fulfill your potential, how to become a master in the making. Uh, and that's embracing what we sometimes call your uniqueness. Uh, and since we come from higher realms and onto this earthly realm, we're here to learn lessons, use our gifts, express them in the ways that are right for us and to help others. And this training is an overview, and people can just mute themselves, by the way, please. There might be some noise there. So people can use these tools in the right way for themselves and really learn them uh, and go on their path and fulfill their highest potential and help others to do so. A lot of people need help, as you know. So this is a soul calling, and part of the inspiration for this spiritual guide course and what we've discovered in recent years came from an amazing experience Jane had, which she's going to share with you.
Right. A series of amazing experiences, actually, and things that really brought a lot of things about my history together, that things that I had never understood. So what we're doing today with all of this is building a foundation for going into the records and connecting with different frequencies of energy and information and experiences. Also, as Philip suggested, connections with other people, which I think, to me, and I'll be sharing why this is, having people around you who are like-minded and supportive to get the most out of this is, in my mind, essential, because you're going to end up in places that
Right.
you may not have expected. And part of actually our growth is being challenged. Our belief systems are challenged. And from my experience going into the records, they're challenged in major ways many times. We're also, when we're talking about going into the Akashic Records, it's a sacred experience. It's a sacred space with a high frequency. So we need to enter it with a pure intention to understand truth, connecting with the truth in our own hearts as our guides, which we'll be starting to build on today. We're going to share the process that we use almost daily, pretty regularly, for ourselves and in all of our classes. And putting it all together, I can't imagine being without this kind of heavenly resource, as I call it. Still discovering new things. I was mentioning a little earlier, I'm still going into the records a couple times a week because I'm being suggested in all of the different things I'm doing, which we're also going to be describing today, for me to explore specific things there, which the records are a living library. Things keep shifting. And so we're forming our history, we're forming our reality every moment, actually, which is exciting and also, again, challenging. I think the things that happened to me, which I'm going to describe today, and I very rarely discuss because they are such a challenge, they can be pretty far out. um, and as I mentioned, your beliefs will be stretched. So if you're entering into this or wanting to continue, I think that's what you have to expect. Uh, part of it, having a group like this together, is that we bring our energy together, and actually when we come together, even though we're in different locations throughout the country, the United States, and around the world. I think we have Lucia's in Italy or
Right.
somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. So we have people all around the world, different times. We've had people from Australia and Japan and so many places. It's that's an exciting part of it. But the point is that even though we are in different places in the world, technically there is no distance. When we come together, we do build on a group vibration that makes more possible for each of us individually and then for us collectively, which is an important part of it. So, again, connecting with love in your heart is the foundation. And I just want to take a moment, as I often do, or we often do at the beginning of our classes and processes, to, if you're in a place where you can close your eyes, to do that, to close your eyes and just breathe in what I would choose as the most amazing love and light from the universe around you. So just breathing your beautiful energy. And as you exhale, releasing, just letting go of anything that's heavy or feels discordant, just out of tune with what we are aiming for, coming into a higher vibration and really divine love. And I want to invite Archangel Metatron, who is, as you'll see, one of our big major guides for all of this, to join us, just opening to the magic and the mysteries that surround us. And seeing yourself as that budding creator who you are. Phillip suggested that already, that we are masters in the making. We're here to bring spirit fully into form. And so just taking that for, in whatever way you understand that, understand also that Metatron is honoring each and every one of us as beings of love and light in this time of what you could call the Great Awakening or the dawning of the New Age. He's an amazing resource, considered to be the archangel who's the closest to God. So beautiful, light being. And we can just allow him to bless us with some of that light. He supports us in awakening to our spiritual gifts, strengthening our intuition. And he also is the angelic keeper of the Akashic Records, which makes him particularly relevant in this course. So just knowing now that he is seeing you in your magnificence, and this is true with all the masters and angels, they see us as the masters who we are, more than we see it in ourselves. So just feel that and feel the love. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes again. We're just getting started, and we'll go back into this kind of a space in a while too, again, going deeper with it, and as a kind of a preparation for actually entering the records, which we'll do next time. This is today, we're just getting all of the pieces surrounding it together.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And with Metatron support, the story I'm sharing today has a message for all of us as masters in the making, whether we put any kind of a definition or name on it. When you think about it, if we're all one, and we're going to show a diagram of it also, it's like a pyramid kind of, where gradually all the pieces are coming together. So pieces of us come together on different levels in different dimensions of reality until we are connecting with that master above us who's already there, waiting, just waiting for us to realize that we are one with that. Anyhow, so just going into my story, Phillip and I have been doing these things for more than 3 decades, as he suggested, quite a while. And it was really right around the late 80s, 1990, when we learned to connect with our souls and the truth in our hearts, which was really wonderful. And we continued to develop our own our own personal journey, and we were so enthusiastic about all of it that we learned all kinds of techniques for healing and spiritual growth, uh, hypnotherapy, NLP, spiritual healing, energy healing, Reiki, many different things. And in all of this, in all our practice and such, one of the things that happened that was very memorable for me early on was I had a past life experience where I was burned at the stake. And I do talk about this fairly regularly in our classes because past life experiences can be they can be very poignant, and they can also be very meaningful. And I had this experience of the flames coming up through my body and dying, and all of that. It was really poignant for me and powerful for me. So I would ask my guidance, well, where was that? Who was I? And I kept receiving the guidance that I was Joan of Arc. And I'm not a person who relates to that kind of information lightly, or even is interested in. I'm not looking for claim or fame or whatever. So I would just kind of set that aside, and I wouldn't want to think about it. But it did keep coming back here and there. And at the same time, around the 90s, also, I can remember feeling like I had this close connection with Jesus. And this is as people sometimes they back off from that, but this is not about Christianity the way it's being practiced today. It's about the Christ consciousness, which is really the energy, the template, I would say, the blueprint for the journey that we're on going into the new age. So I had those kinds of experiences and always kind of wondered about them. And then I had this another monumental change at one point where I had guidance, and by this time it had been for many years and connecting with my heart. And so I would connect with this being who was like a guide, and I had a name for her. And every morning I'd sit down and we'd connect, and I'd just go into whatever was there for the day. So I sat down one time, and this was after 2000, probably around 2005 or so, some years later. And I sat down and I said good morning to her, and there was a different voice there. And I had been so accustomed to this this guy that I was kind of ruffled by it. And I said, well, who are you? Kind of suspiciously. And she said, Divine Mother. And I was kind of confused. And so I asked, well, you mean Mother Mary? And she said, no, Mother, Father, God. And that one kind of blew my mind. So I I backed off from that for a few days. And then I thought, well, I really need guidance. So I think I'll give this Divine Mother a try. And I don't mean that to sound flippant or anything, but that my thought was, well, I don't have to reject it. I don't have to accept it. I can just allow it. So I started connecting with Divine Mother, and that went well for about a week or two. And then I sat down to connect with Divine Mother, and by then I was getting used to it. And I sat down, and there was another voice there. And so I said, well, who are you? And this one said, God. And that one was really too much for me to absorb. And I mention all these things partly because we have a limiting perspective on what's possible for us. So I rejected that completely. I stopped doing meditations in the morning, and that went on actually for a couple months. And I could tell that it was throwing me off because I wasn't getting that energy that I needed to be on the right track. So then I went to, it was a a weekend retreat, and a friend of mine was there who was a medium. And so when there was a moment of when I could pull her aside, I said, well, I'm having this experience, and I wanted to know, is this really God? And she had thought about it, and I guess referred to whoever she refers to for a moment, and she said yes. And I thought about that for a bit, and I thought, well, maybe I should give them a try again, not to be flippant. And then what I decided to do was, this was in a country setting, and there was this little lake right nearby. There was no one there, so I went over by the lake and I stood there and I said, I need to have some kind of validation that this is true. And I think we all have those times when we really need that. And so I said, okay, so give me validation if this is true. And I stood there and I was thinking, well, it was springtime, and I thought maybe a flock of geese will come by, with in a V formation or something. So I'm looking around and I'm not seeing anything. And so I'm there for a couple minutes, and then I feel this energy in my body, something that I've never experienced before. And it was very powerful. And I realized that was it. And so I just opened to that, and then I was looking around again. It was just this really beautiful scene, and just feeling very relaxed and willing to accept what had been given to me. And right then, the V formation of geese went overhead. that was really funny. It was what I was wanting and didn't get, but really also did. And so that was great. So I've had a lot of these kinds of experiences that were parts of things, and I share them because they all started to come together with when we connected with Metatron. So another thing that happened right around that time is I had another, I think the most horrifying past life experience ever, which was extremely horrifying. Philip probably remembers it. It was something where someone had suggested to us that I was having a physical problem, and they said, well, it's something that doesn't smell right. And this was a guy, he was kind of intuitive. And so later on, Philip and he sat me down, and we went into what that could be that didn't smell right. And unfortunately, what it was burning flesh. And what I saw was the fall of Atlantis. And I was a priestess in some kind of a temple. And everything, it was like the ground, there were kind of like volcanic eruptions like all around. And so there was no escape, and people were being burned. And that was extremely horrifying. The one actually on being burned at the stake, that one I was able to clear pretty quickly. This one from Atlantis, if it happened maybe around 2007, I couldn't clear it no matter what I did. And I think we've done a lot of healing. It just was the one thing I never could get. But then around the time of the pandemic, it was 2020, I had a friend, and she volunteered to do an angelic Reiki session for me. So we did the session. I don't think I was looking for anything in particular, just whatever might come up. And at the end, I realized the experience from Atlantis had been cleared, the trauma from it, which was to me amazing because it was so horrifying. And I was so grateful. And then this voice came to me right at the end, and it was Metatron, and he said he wanted to talk to me. And this was something that would be for later because I was just working with someone on this session. So I thought, oh, okay. And the next day I went into a meditation and connected with Archangel Metatron. And he said, and this is leading into what's happening right now for us, and why we're here together today. he said, it's time for you to access your full range of resources. And somehow I understood that with the vibrations raising on the planet, that what he was referring to was developing relationships with beings of light surrounding us, like the archangels, the masters, all of the beings, the beautiful nature spirits, the directors of the elements, like all of these different beings, the Elohim, um, who are around us and not part of what we consider to be our reality, but they actually are. It's just that we're not perceiving them because we're not opening to them. And I want to read this quote from, it's attributed to Archangel Raphael, related to this, that I read later, that actually says the same thing. And what he said is, the divine plan for the earth and its peoples is that the angelic host, the human kingdom, and the elemental kingdom should serve together in harmony, creating the perfection of the kingdom of God on earth. So that's what we saw then to be our mission and what we're doing here. Because the Akashic Records became part of us. It's how you can understand how all of these kinds of pieces of the things, that all of the puzzle pieces maybe you have that you haven't understood, how they fit together and where it's taking you. So we started to experiment with all of these different things, connecting with archangels, going into the Akashic Records, meeting with enlightened masters, connecting with nature spirits, the Elohim, and the directors of the elements, which is really a wonderful and powerful thing to do. And as it happened, in questioning at first, well, how are we going to do this? That's where oracle cards and tarot came in, because for a starting place, what I started with was connecting with the archangels. And I thought, well, how can I meet different archangels? And then I came across the Angel Wisdom Tarot. And I thought, well, I can just draw a card from that and meet an archangel, and then I can connect with them. And that's what I did to start. So we did that, and Phillip joined me. We did that with angels. We have decks we use for connecting with enlightened masters, ascended masters, and other beings, goddesses. And then, of course, nature is all through the tarot, and we also develop ways to connect with nature spirits, and probably many of you already do. Sitting with a tree, or however it is that we connect with that oneness that nature is for us. So again, starting with the angels, and then going into the Akashic Records, it was just so synchronous, and things really did start falling together for me, bringing more magic into my life. And I think the Akashic Records, particularly, it was like it takes things into the stratosphere, kind of way beyond where you might imagine it can. And I was blessed also at that point to have a very strong relationship with Archangel Metatron. And of course, he's here for all of us. Nothing that I've experienced is any different than what's available for anyone else. So going into the Akashic Records, I'm going to describe more of those experiences, how that started bringing some of these things and just putting all of these things that had happened over the years into context. But first, I want Phillip to explain a little bit about what the Akashic libraries are, so that we have a kind of a format and a framework to understand all of this.
Right. And these are all the elements that you'll be learning in this 4-month course, accessing the Akashic Records and connecting with archangels, doing some wonderful EFT healing and other kinds of healings with angels using special oracle cards. But let's take a moment to look at what is the Akashic Records, the universal database. And it really became well known about a century ago with the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce gave thousands of readings in a trance that were extremely accurate to people. But you don't have to be an Edgar Cayce to access the Akashic Records. It's kind of like the cloud in the sky, and I'll mention a few different ways to do that as well. So we have this wheel, this Akashic coaching wheel. We'll put it in the resource section. And I know some people are already enrolled in the course, some are looking to enroll now. And this gives you all the different things you can do in the Akashic Records about self-discovery, addressing health challenges, manifestation, improving relationships, holistic spiritual healing, divine guidance, living your purpose, spiritual enlightenment, and more. And so it's a very versatile tool, and you'll become more and more comfortable in that place and have that big picture reality, along with connecting with Metatron, or a guide there. Metatron, the archangel, is sometimes called the celestial scribe, and you may have your own guides or greeters there. And the idea of connecting with the Akashic Record is it's a sacred experience. It's a intentional experience. So we treat it as such, and that makes it very meaningful. And as Jane was mentioning, it does go beyond the logical linear mind sometimes of what you think is possible. So you want to go in there without any agendas or anything preconceived as well, because this is a living library, and it's living and breathing and changing as you are. And the course will show you how to connect in different ways, the right way for you, because some people may prefer one way over the other. And the 4 ways, just generally, that people often access the Akashic Records, the universal database, the Hall of Records, is a sacred prayer. There are different ones out there, sometimes also through hypnosis, uh, uh, going into a trance like Edgar Cayce did. Although you can go in a light trance, it doesn't have to be a deep trance.
Right.
And that sometimes can be a longer time, traditionally going into like a long hypnotic trance. Or what we often offer is certain guided visualizations, the journey into the higher realms. And there's also just an instantaneous just being there. Some people are able to just intend to be there, and they're there instantaneously. And you may do different methods at different times and find which works best for you. And this is another note, that it's important, we think, to have support, people who know what they're doing, who can train you and guide you, so you can do it for yourself. And if you choose to help others, if you want to be a spiritual guide and help others in the Akashic Records, so they get the truth for themselves, not where you're giving them the truth for themselves.
Right. Can I say a little something
Go
here?
for that. Go for it, Jane.
And I think this is important because it's a lot of the foundation for everything that we do in our work, is that we're not here if we're suggesting to guide another person in the records. Our approach is actually to guide them into their records and for them to get the insights, rather than telling them their history or telling them who they are, because it's so much more meaningful when we do it ourselves. And I've had so many examples of clients and people who said, well, someone told me I was such and such in a past life, and this and that. And if I would say something like, well, what does that mean to you? They wouldn't know. Where if you have your own experience of it, you know. You know what it means to you. You know what it feels like. You know how it affects your heart. And that is a basis. Our whole approach is on self-empowerment. So it's for ourselves, by learning to go into the records for ourselves. And then if we choose to work with other people, and doing oracle readings too, we help people to find the guidance that's in the oracle cards themselves. Not so much us telling them, well, this means this and that means that. And people come away, I think, they feel like they have to believe in someone else as their guide. And that's not what we want. We want to have ourselves as our guide. And so I think Phillip is going to start this in a minute or two here with a guided visualization, which the one that we're starting with, that's going to help us to raise our vibration so we can go into the records. And it's very exciting. for everyone to understand that they know much more. We all know more than we think we know.
Right. Yeah, amazing things are revealed in the Akashic Records, like Jane shared, and I have many stories from myself and other people. But we want to go on to actually have an experience here of accessing a higher state, a mystical mountains state, a place where you have higher access to higher understanding. And some of we teach in another program, we have coaching and healing, spiritual coaching and healing, past life regression, and you're really going to really a part of the Akashic Records. We often did it without knowing that's where we were. But when you're in the Akashic Record, it's much broader, more expansive, more soulful understanding of the experience. So you can
Right.
actually go deeper and get more insights.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a brief visualization here to get access a higher state, a higher place, to understand this more experientially now.
Watch your microphone, just where it
Okay.
is. Seems to keep
And
moving.
you can just breathe and relax. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes. And when you breathe in, you take in your own energy, taking it back into you so you feel more grounded in within yourself. And you exhale, releasing things you picked up along the way, because we pick up all kinds of things that we hear and see that sort of lodge into our awareness. And we want to breathe them out now and just be in our own space now in this class and allow the perfect experience to unfold now as we become lighter and more relaxed. And as you become lighter and more relaxed and all your cells open up, you can open up in a way where you sense yourself rising, rising higher and higher. You may sense or see this. And you're going to a wonderful mystical mountaintop or someplace high above where everything is aligned, everything is harmonious, everything is working together. And there you can connect with your soulful awareness. You can also connect with other higher guides. They have the right understanding and guidance for you, the right healing for you, anything that you need. And you can just be in that place now, in whatever way it is, or it is unfolding to you now. And Jane?
Yeah, it's a beautiful experience, and just as a kind of a backdrop, whenever you imagine yourself rising up, it tends to elevate your awareness and raise your vibration. So what we're doing, rising up to this mystical mountaintop, we're going up above all of the mass consciousness thought forms, all of the fears and the turmoil and hatred, all of that. We rise above it into a place that is pure. We one of our also the things that we focus on very much now also is being in this place of pure potential. And on this mystical mountaintop, you can open to that guidance, the love in your heart. You can just breathe energy into your heart. We have a flame there, which you sometimes known as the threefold flame, which is the creator residing in us. So we are one with our creator because the creator resides in us. So you can just feel that in your heart. And the three flames are power, love, and wisdom. So we have within us the power, love, and wisdom of the creator. Just feeling that and opening to that. And then realizing from that place with pure potential and love that we can open to the vastness that we can see around us on this mystical mountaintop. Here we can see all of the universe, all of the stars, the planets, just this open space. Pure potential, it's spaciousness. No agendas, nothing preventing us, nothing stopping us. It's just pure light. We can feel that, just opening to that. And we'll be sharing a little bit here and also in coming weeks how pure potential is one of the most powerful places you can go for healing. Because there are no blockages in this place of pure potential. And when we go there through our intention, through pure intention, through belief, through trust, through that sense of connectedness with everyone and everything. And you might also sense the angels and masters and guides around you. All of this is here for us. And it will be next time from here that we're going to then take the next step up into the Akashic Records with the support of Metatron, so we can invite him again to bless us with a cascade of his loving light, which is often experienced. Everyone has their own experience, and you might feel more, or you might hear messages more, you might see more. His vibration is often experienced as a radiant white and gold light with sparkles in it. I always have sparkles. Sparkles, they loosen things up. So just allow yourself to feel blessed by him. And as I mentioned, he is the archangel who is considered to be closest to the creator. He can help us with spiritual awakening, ascension, evolution, enlightenment, building a light body, connecting more with source, with that sense of unity and abundance that is in that place of pure potential. Also developing a clearer sense of ourselves as magnificent spiritual beings. I feel so blessed to have developed that relationship with him, which is available to us all when we approach him with an open heart. And of course, then having him to support us going into the Akashic Records, along with other beings of light, like Archangel Michael, who can provide protection, and so many others will be connecting with those too in the weeks ahead. And again, mentioning the foundation for all of this is being centered in the heart. This is where we start. So again, gazing up at that beautiful spaciousness of the universe above us. Philip, maybe would you like to share what you're noticing, and maybe Metatron has a message for us?
I'm just noticing that everything feels connected and harmonious, and there's a reason for everything. And let me get a channel a message from Metatron directly. Yes, when you're in the higher realms, everything makes sense. When you're in the lower realms, sometimes it does not. But we are here with you nonetheless. If you open up your heart and mind to us, we will gladly come into your reality and share and support you in the right way for you. We know, dear Earthlings, that the journey on Earth can be a difficult one at times and seemingly confusing and not making much sense. But from the higher realms, it does make a lot more sense, although some things may never make sense, and that is something to accept as well. But when you open your heart and connect with other loved, spiritual-minded ones like the people here today, life becomes easier. Life becomes more fulfilling. Life becomes more loving because you do realize you are lovable as others are, and you are able to share and spread that love. And going to the mystical mountain top places like this, it's much easier to do so, to fortify you, to give you preparations, supplies as you come back to Earth, to go about your daily life with more love, joy, and happiness, and making a bigger difference in the world. With much love, Metatron. Thank
you. Thank you. It's beautiful. And it reminds me that in this place we can see we don't have to be affected by all the turmoil that's happening below us here, which is around us normally. that if we can hold on to that joy, the love, and I think gratitude, I'm deeply grateful for all of these beings who are supporting me, and for all of you, for all of the people around me who are supporting me, as we can all be supporters for each other. I've found that just being in a place of joy, joyous gratitude, that's my focus these days. We're rising above all of the doubts and fears. And of course, we will also be addressing those more directly too, today and in other times. So for now, just breathing in that love, that light, also understanding that, opening to that expansiveness of this field of pure potential, that we rose up and that raised our vibration. This raises it more. It expands our perception of ourselves and our possibilities. Mm-hmm. So that's the place we want to, you could say, jump off from into the universe and the records. So not leaving any of it behind. This is another thing. We don't have to leave this state, but we can come back to an awareness of ourselves, being in our seats, being also grounded to the earth. We are beings on earth. We need to stay grounded and breathing in more active energy, coming back to our normal waking states. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Back here, that was great. Thank you.
It felt good. So yeah. I'm curious if anyone might want to share anything they noticed. I see so many friends out there.
Yeah, many people who are already enrolled. Bonita?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So while Phillip was channeling, I was up on the mountain and I said, why do I always have this fear of impending doom? And I saw a picture of a person being blown up. So
time to go into the records.
Find out another
I will
one.
have to go into the record to get more information on that.
Yeah.
But I thought that was very interesting that, yes. You ask a question, you got an answer.
Yeah, there you go. Instantaneous answers. Yeah. And sometimes I think, as Bonita pointed out, it means there'll be a follow-up. And it's great to do it in the class, in the supportive environment, and just having different people get insights on it can make things go a lot easier. In fact, just as another story, and Margaret is here, who took our course, one of the processes she had in a previous class, the spiritual guide program here, she wanted to develop her intuition, and we also combine these with oracles. And I don't, Margaret, if you want to share the story briefly about going and finding out a shamanic past life and helping you clear some of the concerns about going into the unknown. If you're in a place, Margaret, to share, you can, or I can just complete the story if you're not available. But anyways, with some cards, she had cards that directed her to a cave where she was doing some rituals with a shaman, and she realized in this past life she was an apprentice to a shaman. But she failed, as it turned out. She just kind of quit. It didn't work for her. And this was a source of shame and even taking her life, just feeling like a failure. Now, interestingly enough, sometimes just seeing these tragic things, and others have had these experiences like Jane has, and Bonita too, I know, clears them. Not always. Sometimes this was such a powerful experience for her that she cleared the concerns about going into the unknown and trusting her intuition. And she started going into the backyard and communing with nature, going barefoot and doing rituals and communing with the trees and so forth. So it was just a different way of approaching her life without this, sometimes we have these, I don't know about that, I'm a little concerned something might happen, those kind of fears.
There she is.
And there she is. There she is. And Margaret, if you want to add anything to that too, feel free. And I don't know if I covered it enough.
Somebody came into my room for this. I'm like,
yeah. Okay, Margaret. Okay, well, Margaret, I kind of caught you unaware. Sorry about that. But anyways, it can be.
Actually, I did want to
express something about that, because
Go ahead.
I was given guidance about things that I needed to, in following up on that, I was given guidance as to things that I need to have in my backyard. And I'm currently trying to create, the spiral. So a
Yeah,
rock
spiral
card,
image. Mm-hmm.
yeah, a rock
Sacred.
spiral in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sacred spiral in my backyard. And all of that stemmed from this class. This whole vision of what has to happen in my backyard.
Here's a spiral card from the deck we're going to draw in a moment. Just happened to be at the top of the deck.
Wow.
Okay, synchronicity. A lot of synchronicities will be happening in this class to us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Margaret. And just a couple of things I want to highlight about the Akashic Records. We've touched on some of it. Is that it's important to be in the right frequency. That's why a class like this is good, and you can certainly practice alone and become better at it, because it is a sacred experience. You want to have that pure intent, soulful intent, without agendas, without thinking it should be this way. I just did a process. I took a lady in the Akashic record. She was concerned about her 25-year-old relationship with her husband because he wasn't spiritual like her, but did support her. And she was wondering, do I need a new partner who's spiritual? And in the Akashic records, and the cards were sort of indicating something new was going to happen. And this shows you how it's completely different from what you thought. And I said, well, how is this going to happen? So the conclusion of this surprising story is she saw herself in the Akashic records on a ship, a Viking ship, and she was alone, but very contented and peaceful. And she was enjoying the journey without concern about the destination. And her husband in that life this life was there with her in spirit and on his journey. And she knew that she loved him, and they were mutually supporting each other. And just like that, she realized, wow, there is no separation from him. And maybe, if he had been more spiritual, and when I was exploring things that might have interfered, or I might not have learned all I've learned by myself, but he's there. And she completely shifted her relationship by going to the Akashic Records, her whole marriage, this 1 hour. It was amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyways, things like this do happen even in class somewhat regularly. And they can stretch your beliefs of what can happen. So, I mean, if you thought like, wow, she's going to be directed to look for a new partner or something, sort of what you might think is coming out of the oracle cards, and it's not like that at all. It was a deep internal shift, different point of view.
Yeah.
So that's why
I know Bonita had a real transformational one with her partner too, her husband.
Oh yeah, right.
I think there are just so many things that can change in unexpectedly helpful ways by going into the records. A lot of times now the guidance that I get is it's time to write a new record, which means really it is, the records are a living library. They're always changing as we change. So writing a new record means that you're actually updating something that's more in harmony really with what's true for who you are.
So the Akashic Records can stretch your beliefs. They can also confirm your deep intuitive hunches as well. And it's important to be around like-minded, heart-centered people to help you do that as we bravely go into this new frontier, this new age that we're in, to help ourselves and other people, and learning how to trust what you get, not letting the linear, logical mind, which is so valued in society, edit out things so we can't get the messages or access what we need in the records. But afterwards, after you get the messages and have the experience, then you use your left brain, your linear mind, to piece things together and figure things out.
Right. And recognize how you can maybe get validation.
Right.
We write in our writings, we write a lot of times you can get validation for things through scientific methods, with the scientific research, and that doesn't apply with a lot of the information you get from the records. Or it can be also from wisdom through the ages, which we use a lot. And then there is what you get from other sources, and you just don't know what's synchronously going to emerge. Right. Yeah. So are we ready to continue my story?
Yeah, it's a little more about your story.
So this is where it comes together. We've had all those pieces. And the other part about how you can validate things that you can't. There's no way in a like a physical reality way to validate them. I was listening to an audio shortly before I started getting all of this really mind-blowing stuff from the records. And it was a woman who was an intuitive, and she said, well, you can always ask for validation, like ask the guides to tell you how you can validate information that you get. So I'm going to share right now how this has saved me, because I started visiting the records regularly when we were learning about it. And first I wanted to mention that I understood pretty quickly that the records exist on different levels or in different dimensions. So depending on how high our vibration is, we might enter the records in the 6 dimensions. I get 6, 8, 10. Some people say 7. I somehow perceive the dimensions that are even numbers to be more internal. So 6th, 8th, and 10th dimensions. That's the way I generally perceive them. And we're going to show a map of the dimensions too here.
You
in
want
a
to see
bit.
it now? Okay,
Right.
we'll show it later. Yeah.
Yeah, a little later.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so the records have levels to them. And I had this library I went to, and it was really nice. Everything was great there. And it didn't have a roof on it. So the universe was up above, but there were shelves of books all around. After a while, I ended up going above that to a library, and the walls were out further. And then further on, I went up higher, and the records, the actual library books, if they're there, they're like miles away. It's just so big and universal. So this is something we grow into it too, which is very exciting. And the information that we receive in the records is stored in the dimension that it corresponds to vibrationally, which is why we want to continue to elevate, to raise our vibration, to focus on love, to focus on going to the mystical mountaintop, connect with angels, the archangels. They help us, they support us in raising our vibration, etc. So we want to be able to go into these higher levels of the records. And so I was going through this experience and enjoying going into these different levels of the records. And so one time I decided, having had that kind of sense that I had a relationship with Jesus, I went into the records and I asked, I wanted to know more about my connection with Jesus, because it was completely mystifying, and I figured I must have been there. So I went up into the records and I saw myself in a scene at the time of Jesus, and I was told I was Mary Magdalene. And I'll explain how I understand that also in a little bit. And that was one of those times when it was so challenging, it was hard for me to take it in. So I again, kind of like when I met with God, I asked the record keepers if they could provide proof. Like, how are you going to prove this to me? And they told me, well, look on the internet. So I went off and went to the internet and asked about something about Mary Magdalene. And what I found, one of the first things that I found was, well, Mary Magdalene was a past life of Joan of Arc. And I had made that reference earlier about Joan of Arc, and I never really did much with it. But I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's a coincidence that I would have both of those. So I started thinking, well, maybe there's something to this. And again, I thought, well, I can just allow it. And this is another thing. You can trust in what you receive. It doesn't mean you have to be a blind believer of anything, but you can also start feeling it in your heart. And there was something that was starting to ring true if I didn't allow that doubter in my head. The rational mind is, from my experience, it's always going to doubt. I don't know if it ever goes away. It's just a function of deciding what we're going to listen to. So that I found very interesting. So then going through that experience, going up into the 10th dimension, which is really a beautiful, really beautiful experience. And going there, different things happen. I never know what's going to happen. I can see spaceships, different beings from different places. And one time I was there, and there was this female, feminine being there. And I asked who this was. And I wasn't really clear on how it was described. I thought it was Nadia, Lady Nadia. And so I went on the internet to see what that was about. And her name actually is Lady Nada. And she actually, she led a temple there. Some people say it's called the Temple of Love. And if people know me, love is like me. That's the thing I love most. Love. So she was the head of the Temple of Love. She also was known as a past life of Mary Magdalene. And I thought, well, this is starting to actually fall together, and I'm willing to accept it or just let it be. I feel actually I resonate quite a bit with the energy of Lady Nada. And Lady Nada also is the I'm trying to think of the name. The partner, partner of the Ascended Master. Now I'm getting lost in my words. Sananda, is it Sananda? The higher self of Jesus. Anyhow,
yes,
Sananda. None of that doesn't matter. I'm just getting kind of lost in all of these names and things. But that for me started actually putting all of that together, and there have been more pieces of that have come, which I'll probably talk about some of it in the other classes. But the reason I mention all of this is because we all have a history, whether it is something recognizable like that, or it doesn't have to be something that you can maybe research on the internet, although it might be. I know Ashley and I had a very interesting discussion on all of this the other day. And you just never know. And you never know also how we are connected as a family.
Yeah. Yeah. This class has a lot of people connected to it in different ways.
And right. Yeah. Right. So it's been and still is an amazing journey. I think I have always a stronger and stronger belief in what this is about and how true it is that we are masters. Again, we're going to show a chart that will describe it a little bit more. But I think Phillip is going to also talk a little bit about all of the things you can do in the in the records, which is pretty mind blowing. He showed the wheel that gives you some sense of it, and you never know what's going to come up when you go. It can be, who knows?
Yeah,
a lot of things.
Right. And there's many things you can do in the Akashic libraries, as you're going to experience in this class. I've helped heal myself of vertigo, seasickness, and other things. It just goes on. And I'll show the Akashic wheel again, and I'll tell you just again some of the things that you can really do with the Akashic records that we're going to explore together in this class. It's going to show you your soul's history, like Jane was explaining. I have had that I'm aware of famous people. I've seen many of my past lives, and some of them were prominent people. Some of them were like beggars, so you don't know what it's going to be, but whatever it is, it's part of your soul's history, and it makes sense on what's going on today when you approach it intentionally.
Well,
You're
I
gonna,
think you have had a sense of a connected. Philip is. I have a
yeah,
more Western connection. He seems to have a more Eastern connection with the Buddha and that
right.
kind of lineage.
Yeah, and there
So
were
we're
periods of
all
shamans.
very
Yeah,
individual in that way too.
yeah, and periods of shamans and connected with Buddha and things like that, but not like a famous person like Jane was saying, some people that are pretty well known in history.
Which doesn't matter. That's not the important part of it.
No, it's
I
not.
think I just have this story that maybe I have it because I can share it and help people to understand what all of this means for each of us.
And as we said, sometimes just going to the Akashic Records is all you need to heal, but we also have additional tools. We'll do angelic EFT tapping and other tools, and clearing karma, unfinished business, what you're here to clear if you choose this lifetime, so you can make a lot of spiritual accelerated evolution. You're going to open more to divine love, connecting with the archangels, ascended masters, and really understand and harness your soul's gifts so you can realize your full potential, developing your intuition and your art, whatever you're here to do, and to help others as being a spiritual guide or whatever you are led to, and being on your soul's highest trajectory going into the future here, using the Akashic Records to help guide you, and realizing yourself as a more spiritual being, and incorporating these different elements in a way that I think is very natural and doable for you. Um, uh, and having a group experience seems to bring out more consciousness and more illumination for all of this. Um, so maybe we'll do just a brief connecting with one of the archangels here to get some further insights into the Akashic records, and we'll
Were
choose
we
some.
going to do the angelic EFT?
Yeah, we'll do some angelic EFT, and we're going to use the archangel Zadkiel, and he has a partner.
Zadkiel.
Zadkiel, holy amethyst is his partner complement in the archangel realm. And so an EFT tapping might be, it's natural to have some doubts. So we could start out, even though I might have some doubts of being successful with the Akashic Records or this kind of training, and we can tap the side of our hands, I can still access the records and the field of infinite potential. So
And some people might not know EFT, but it's pretty easy if you just follow
yeah,
Philip's prompts,
follow with
starting.
us now. And
Or you
there's
can also do this.
yeah, there's in the resource sections, there's the how to do EFT too, and if you you can access that. But it is pretty simple. The tapping points, you're saying an affirmation, even though I may have some doubts, part of me has some doubts, I can still access the records and field of infinite potential within that records. Even though part of me has doubt, I can access the field, the Akashic record field, and field of pure potential as well. And so we're tapping, releasing, we're releasing our doubts by tapping the top of our head, releasing, and tapping the eyebrow point, either both sides of the bridge of the nose, releasing those doubts, bringing in Zadkiel and Amethyst too to help us, releasing the doubts, the side of the eyes, under the eyes, knowing we're being supported and releasing our doubts under the eyes, the nose, under the nose, releasing the doubts, and the chin, releasing more, and the collarbone, ridge under the collarbone, tapping lightly, releasing more, and under the arms, armpits about 4 inches, tapping or touching, releasing the doubts, breathing in. And the last reset points across the top of your head, connecting with Zadkiel and Amethyst, connecting with that Akashic field to help us clear all doubts, knowing we can be there, and tapping the heart, breathing, connecting with the Akashic field and the field of pure potential, breathing. And getting a message from the beautiful healer, educator, Zadkiel, partner, Amethyst. I guess I'm getting a mutual, this is kind of, I haven't done this, getting a joint message from them. I guess they're merging their energies through me now. Yes, dear ones, the field is all around you. You are within it. It's just a matter of opening your eyes and hearts, and you enter the fields easily, gracefully, effortlessly, and you are there, presto, with us and with all the magnificent beings like yourself, growing, evolving, exploring, and finding out what's next for you. It's a beautiful journey. It's one that lets your heart and mind soar to wonderful realms, the high heights, and even exploring deep depths as well, with all the support, knowledge, and love that you need to go through it in the right way for you now. We are here with you always with much love. Zadkiel and Amethyst, we love you, dear ones. And thank you.
That was beautiful. So does anyone want to share anyone about EFT or anything?
And well, we still have a little bit more to cover to conclude this opening class as well.
Right. Yeah. This is where I wanted to talk about how the soul exists in different dimensions.
Yes, and there's
It's been obviously a very profound experience for me, and using the oracle cards and the records has been amazing. Were you going to share the diagram?
Here it is.
Yeah. So if you look at the little green men at the bottom, are men and women, little green stick figures. So this is us. Here we are on planet Earth, grounded. And above us is the soul. So our soul actually individual, so can even split off. I know I one time we had a dog, and I generally and often ask about the origins of our dogs, and this particular one, who was a very wounded dog, rescue dog, the guidance that I received when I asked about him was that he had within him a human soul of a person who had been actually had been very destructive towards animals. And so his soul had decided he would go into the dog to have that experience of what that was like from the other side. So anyhow, just to say, we have a soul, and our soul can be divided, and there's the idea of people having parallel lives, that we may have this life here and another life somewhere else too. But we have that soul level, so that's you could say maybe the sixth dimension. Beyond that is what is also often known as the oversoul level, which is your soul group. And that's made up of a group of souls, and often thought to be somewhere possibly in the range of 50 to 100 souls in a soul group. That could be your spiritual family. Many could be from your soul group. And then from there, it goes up to, this is the master level, and maybe 10th dimension, somewhere around there. I think there are masters at the soul group level too. The way that I experience it, an ascended master may be at different levels. So the master level, so that magnificent ascended master, may be the 10th dimension. And that master is a group of oversouls. So you could say, what if say you have 100 souls in a soul group, and you have 10 soul groups at a master level, then you have 1,000. You could have 1,000 souls in that same group. So to me, if I look at the way I look at Lady Nada, that she would be at that master level, that there could be potentially 1,000 Lady Nadas out there. Or the way I perceive it, Mary Magdalene would be more at the soul group level. And maybe there are 100 or maybe hundreds of souls who participated in that life of Mary Magdalene. So I think sometimes too that there are the people sometimes who are considered to be crazy and say, well, they were Jews, Jesus or Buddha or whatever. Maybe they were. But the point is that we are uniting more and more at different levels. And then above the divine level, the way that I look at it, and people have different perspectives on this. I'm not trying to say that this is the only way people look at it, because I have seen other examples of people who had a similar or the same perspective. Not everyone does. The divine level, the way I see that, is that it's above our reality. So if there's a cosmos, then above the cosmos is the divine, which is just complete openness. You could say maybe pure potential is related to that. But if you receive divine guidance, or sometimes I think of angels like the cherubim, who are considered to be very high dimensional angels. I consider them to be from the divine, and it's in a place of complete unity. And then of course there's the creator. So that's one way of looking at reality, and how I understand the things that I've experienced, and that there are more than there's more than one. Also, probably Joan of Arc. Different souls have had. Actually, there's a whole soul group having that experience, or being somehow connected to that experience. So, Philip, did you have anything that you wanted to say?
Seems complete.
There actually was one other thing I wanted to say, and the way that I look at it also, like with Lady Nada and Atlantis, which is interesting, Lady Nada and Atlantis, and the experience that I had, and I had that huge block with it, is the way I understand it is that a master like that can do what the term I use is cast a fragment. So at any point, they can cast a fragment of themselves into reality. So they expand, right? I mean, this is how we all expand, is by having different experiences. So just as God himself or herself is casting fragments of billions and billions, I have no idea in the cosmos how many fragments there are of our creator. That happens all the way down through the dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I consider myself to have been cast. I was cast from Lady Nada, and that's why I had that huge block. That's kind of like the misunderstanding that brought me down into the third dimension.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So just some final notes here about people who are enrolled or going to enroll. I thought I'd do just a little mini reading for what you can get out of this course, how it can benefit you. And I'll show you my other camera here. And this will be one of the decks that is in the course that you'll use in the course, the Mystical Shaman, a beautiful deck. So and has wonderful artwork. So a card that will help us understand how we can get benefit the value of a training like this, Spiritual Awakenings with the Akashic Records, Oracles, and EFT. So the card that's coming to me is, the wind. The wind. Like the wind.
Book in the guidebook.
Yeah, and I'm going to get
what number is the wind?
Number 63. So the course can help you like the wind.
It's interesting. That's the final card, I think. Yep.
The element of air, of course, signifies as change with qualities, different qualities, both positive and negative. You're going to probably find out a few negative things about yourself that you can clear. And, it's there, and you're going to find a lot of positive things. It also is going to help you be more introspective, help you with your decisions, and also bring in the wind will bring you more wisdom and strength. Which way is the wind blowing? You don't need a weather vane, as Bob Dylan said.
Right.
And it
Yeah,
may
it says the invitation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to read that?
Go ahead.
When the spirit of the wind comes calling, it's a sign of change. Perhaps you need to change your mind about something. Perhaps an old way of doing things has become automatic and now you've gained greater clarity and
Right.
you can make a new choice. Regardless of what the change is, you can expect to be understood and to have clear communication with others at this time. Ideas are solid and the shift that's being called for is in the highest good for all.
And also, it may take courage at first to face the wind, but you will find exaltation in moving toward it and receiving its lessons. I think that really sums it up very beautifully too.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so there's some of the magic and synchronicity that's in store for us in this course, and every class is that way. Let me show you the resource section of the materials in the course here. And see, well, I guess, I don't know. Okay, the course, and they're the Oracle decks and some of the resources. There's a lot of them, and you can get to as many as you want, go as deep as you want. Our newest, which now is a book, Awakening to Your Magnificence. There's the Gifts and Blessings from Oracles, Angels, and Enlightened Masters, a little ebook that comes with the course. And Oracle Readings and Guidebook. There's a guidebook on how to do the Oracle readings that correspond with the Akashic Records in each week's lesson. So that, and there are other materials and their handouts for each class too as well. So just in concluding, I just want to give you an overview of what the program is like, and that means it's a spiritual guide. Let me get us back here. The spiritual guide program has 3 courses, and this each is 4 months, and there's 7 classes and 7 labs, so you get quite a bit of live time with us and your classmates, and they're all recorded if you miss any. So this one is the Spiritual Awakening with Akashic Records, Oracles, and EFT at this point in time starting next week. And then the next one will be Spiritual Transformation with Ascended Masters, and then Abundance with Archangels. And you can take one or all of them, whatever you'd like, and you'll be able to access the Akashic Records, your soul's history, connect with archangels and guides, clear karma, shift energy, using oracles and tarot for synchronous gifts, and many more benefits. And I guess if you haven't joined, I just putting this up here because I know many people have, but just in case, you can get a pre-planning session with us here at tinyurl.com/plan-free-session. And this is all on the website too. And you can call us directly here at Awakenings Institute, 805-934-1238, or the course description page. This is a short URL, tinyurl.com/spiritual-healing-course. So that is an overview of what we're doing in the course, kind of a very personal way of doing it, experiential. There'll be a lot of interaction in the courses too, and a lot of fun, and laughter comes with it too. Jane, you want to add about preparing for the next class? If you haven't enrolled already, you still can, and the rest of you will be seeing you next week.
Yeah. And so there are 4, with each of the 4 courses, we have 4 decks of cards for each one. And for this one, we have the Akashic Tarot, the Mystical Shaman Oracle, the Good Tarot, and Angels and Ancestors Oracle cards. And this is a new one from last year for those who are coming back. That the 4th deck, which is kind of, if you look on the website, it's that one is it's optional but recommended to have that one. The rest of them, if you want to be certified, you'll need to probably have all of them. And they are pretty amazing. I continue to be surprised all the time at what is coming. So that's what we have, and recommend getting those as soon as possible. I'm also looking. Another thing I just want to mention is that we use selenite a lot. This is a selenite heart. You can also get these selenite sticks. They're very good for cleaning your decks of cards. This is a long one. There are little short ones too. I just put those with my decks to. Selenite clears any negative vibrational energy, and it has a very high vibration.
Yeah, very
so
affordable.
It's a really wonderful. It's a very unusual. I don't know if it's exactly a stone. It's a form of sodium, but it is a really beautiful and powerful to have around. And then black tourmaline is really helpful for grounding and releasing negative energy. So we use those a lot. I keep little pieces of black tourmaline around, and other things. We'll be talking a lot about how you can keep things balanced.
Right.
Yes. And during the week, for now, just if you can go up to the mountaintop, again, part of this is wanting to raise our light quotient, you might say, our vibration, and connecting with angels. I think that for those who haven't done a lot of it, the depth of their love is, to me, just almost incredible, and how they can support you. Just asking them to bless you with light and love, and taking it into all of the cells of your body. I even focus taking it into all of the atoms and all of the cells. And of course, all around me, a whole body of light. Doing that regularly, daily, is good. And at the same time, be patient with yourself. It doesn't all happen at once. And I don't know, to me, I don't know if it ever ends. The journey just keeps going.
Right.
And it just gets better.
Yeah,
the further you go, I guess.
We're going to have a lot of wonderful adventures and times together and discoveries. I'm really looking forward to being with all of you weekly. This is going to be a great journey.
We also highly recommend journaling.
Journaling is good too.
Yeah, and I keep my journal in Microsoft Word, and I dictate a lot of times into it. Like if I'm doing a processor in the records, I'll just dictate right into it, and then it's all there. I have it now going all the way back to 2020, so I can look up, like if I want to look up how I met Lady Nada, I can look it up and go back into that journal and actually get the full details of it. Anything, going all the way back. Yeah. Actually, when I met Metatron, that was one nice. That was just before I started, and I have that actually in paper.
That's great.
Yeah, but it has been and continues to be pretty remarkable, and I think those who have been around would agree. From what I can tell, Margaret's saying.
Some head nodding who've been with us. And so as we mentioned earlier in Jane's story, and Metatron said, opening up to this full range of resources, that's what's ahead of you. This was a good beginning. Great being with the energy here. And we look forward to being with people next time.